keep calm and carry on because she's back.
We don't know if that made sense, but
She's not British, but she's back.
in our head that made sense. Yeah, Julie Ertz is back. We did not think that would be the focus of today's video based on the roster drop that happened yesterday. But I mean, that's what everyone is talking about because everyone is stunned, shocked, shook. I think most people thought we didn't think this day was gonna come.
Yeah, a lot of people thought, after she had the baby, I mean, we hadn't heard anything from her, really.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of talk about that. We're going to talk about the roster drop that just dropped. That's pretty much going to be the video. The roster for the friendlies in April has just dropped. They're playing the Republic of Ireland in April. It's going to be the final international matches for the U.S. women's national team before Vlatko chooses the World Cup roster.
Whoa.
So these matches are important. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And, I still think it's kind of so many things, so many puzzle pieces are not even close to be fitting in exactly where they're going to in 4 months. But
I think at this point I could be called up for the roster. Who agrees?
Yeah, at this point you would think it would be pretty. Everyone would kind of know their place about, but even with this inclusion with Julie Ertz, that's kind of thrown everything also kind of like up in the air. Like, what does this mean?
Right.
But I guess we'll go through the roster. Goalkeepers, we have Adie French, Casey Murphy, Alyssa Nair. I don't think any surprises there. Mm-hmm. And then for defenders, we have Alana Cook. Tierna Davidson is back. We just talked about her. She trained with the team last camp, but wasn't on the roster. Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox, Naomi Gurma, Sophia Horta. Casey Kruger is also back from having a baby, and she was selected. I think some people were surprised about that.
Ooh, a couple of mamas.
And it's great to see. Kelly O'Hara's back. She hasn't played since last summer. Becky and Emily Sana is back. There's a lot of talent there. That's all I'm going to say. There's a lot of talent there. Midfielders, the first name, I think it's going alphabetical, but first name, Julie Ertz. People were stunned and shocked to see that. Yeah. Lindsay Horan, Taylor Korniak, Rose Lavelle, Christy Mewis, and Ashley Sanchez, Andy Sullivan. Forwards, Ashley Hatch, Alex Morgan, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, Mallory Swanson, Lynn Williams. And we're not really going to talk about it, but Pinoe, not selected. I hear it's still an injury she has.
Yeah, calf injury.
So not selected. But I guess let's go right to Julie Ertz. We never really talked about this, but the last thing I remember in regards to Julie Ertz was that Vlatko made a statement, and he was talking about Julie Ertz and Sam Mewis. This was about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point. And it was an article that had come out, but it was kind of about him talking at a press conference or just, to media. He had kind of made a comment saying, for Sam Mewis and Julie Ertz, the time was running out. And then this is what was said. Neither Ertz nor Mewis has played soccer since 2021. And head coach Vlatko Ananovsky indicated Wednesday more definitively than ever before that he doesn't expect either of them to be available this summer. And then he said about Julie Ertz specifically, she's someone that we're probably not going to be able to count on for the World Cup, he said. So that was his direct quote specifically about Julie Ertz. And from a month and a half ago, that statement to where we are now, something has transpired to where Julie Ertz is now included in the roster.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because you hear that statement, you're like, okay, it sounds pretty definitive. She's not coming back. No official statement was released, but based on that quote alone, it sounds like...
But what really is definitive?
Exactly.
In this type of
true.
Thing?
It sounded like they were making plans to not expect her to come back or to make a go at it. Because I guess we'll start here. Because she hasn't played since the Summer Olympics 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. She was injured before the Summer Olympics. She played in the Summer Olympics, and she played 70% of, the Julie Ertz that everyone knew because she was still nursing that injury. She played at the Olympics, played for the injury. She played well, it's Julie Ertz. She played well, wasn't 100%. And then after the Olympics, I don't exactly remember the timetable, but I think a few months after the Olympics, that's when she got pregnant. Then was pregnant, so pumped for her and her husband, and they had a baby. All throughout that time, you know, there was no announcements. And not only had she not played from, she was playing Chicago Red Stars, then Angel City got her rights, and then from there, she was unattached. So she never played for Angel City. I don't know if she ever made contact with them, but as of right now, she is still unattached from the team.
Yeah, she's a free agent.
So yeah, so right now she's unattached, is not attached to a team. And in the past it said, well, in the long distant past, they said they wanted players attached to, you know, domestic team leagues. They wanted them in domestic. Now they're like, you know, you don't have to be in a domestic league, but you have to be playing club somewhere. And that was never an official rule, like you had to play club, but that was basically, to be considered, you need to be on a team, you need to play club. What does that mean for Julie? Does that mean that she's going to play club, or does that mean that they're gonna have an exception for her where they're not gonna make Julie sign with a club team? I guess we kind of got an answer to that because Vlatko had a quote here. Vlatko Ananovsky says that Julie Ertz is actively negotiating with a professional team, is competing for a World Cup roster spot with the U.S. Women's National Team, and needs minutes but is physically ready. So he says right there, she's looking for a team. She might be in negotiation. I saw this thing that some people thought Kansas City was going to be the team, so it looks like she is in negotiation with a team. So, I mean, we might have a couple more quotes about Julie in a little bit, but
it was very surprising seeing her on the roster. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised.
Right. I saw some people in the comments saying, there was a few comments I saw on the roster announcement. They thought it was unfair. They said there's a lot of other people that have been proving themselves, and, you know, is Julie Ertz, is it special treatment because it's, you know what I mean? I saw, just like here's a comment that says, love JJ, but this is a little unfair to say the least. It's definitely making some things clear. And I mean, that was just one of a few comments that I saw, but also that may have been before people, the other quotes about her being in negotiations with the team came out. I read this online and said, you know, she is a legend, you know.
Powerhouse.
Legends get special treatment sometimes, and that's just the way it is sometimes. Not to say she is getting special treatment, but if you're going to make an exception for someone, not even exception, if the rules are going to be a little bit fuzzy, it's going to be for someone like Julie Ertz, you know, especially because the midfield is the weakness you know, for the team. That's the place where things aren't quite figured out. But apparently she has been training with the MLS Academy, I believe, so she has been training and her fitness is there. Vlatko said in that quote that her fitness was good and it's there, and she has been training. So it's just shocking overall.
Vlatko tells At the Goalkeeper that this pre-World Cup window is a bit different than other ramp-up periods because players can contend for the roster through league games. Is it going to be a little bit harder? Yes, but there's a chance.
So he's saying through league play, if you prove yourself through league and you're one of those players that he's looking at, you can get a roster spot through your league play, which, you know, Vlatko says sometimes things that are a little fuzzy / they kind of contradict with each other. You know, I just think he has a puzzle that he is still figuring out. And the thing I'll say about Vlatko, he doesn't seem that confident in some of these statements. He seems a little wishy-washy. I like Vlatko, but I think he seems a little wishy-washy. Like he's making up it on the fly. He's making up, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Vlatko states that the roster is still fluid, and the players not on the roster now still have the chance to showcase themselves to earn a World Cup call-up.
Yeah, I mean, it's fluid. I think it's still kind of, you know, that expression, throwing things at the wall, see what sticks. I think it just seems like...
Never heard of that expression.
You haven't? He seems a little bit unsure of what he wants to do. And then I'm kind of just reading from some Twitter, but, you know, someone like a Kat Macario, you know, we keep hearing about Kat Macario. Is she coming back? She tore her ACL. And then so we have a little update about Kat Macario.
Catarina Macario is supposed to be on the field sometime beginning of next month. That would be with Leauge then. No more U.S. Women's National Team camps before the World Cup roster after April.
That's, you know, he talks about fluid roster, and Kat Macario is one of those players where, you know, it's just she have the potential to make the roster. He might primarily just be evaluating Kat through her matches with Leauge, you know, rather than being able to assess her at these games in April. And there's a few players like that as well. And also, what about Vlatko on Christen and Tobin?
Katarina is a little bit ahead of Christen and Tobin. She's supposed to be on the field early next month.
So are Christen and Tobin still in contention? According to what Vlatko says, they are. Is that reality or fantasy? Who knows? But
oh dear.
It sounds like
fanfic. No.
But then again, you would have never expected Casey Kruger, I think, to be on this roster. I know Casey, this is just a voiceover. I know Casey is a kind of a different circumstance because she just had a baby and she's back from giving birth. So she's full fitness again, and Christen and Tobin are still injured. So it is different, but sometimes players, I don't know, they don't get the benefit of the doubt sometimes to come back when they deserve to come back. I know some people were talking about, was this a call it because of the CBA says they have to call it after maternity leave. Apparently that this camp wouldn't be in that clause, but I think it just shows how much Vlatko really likes Casey. And so I know the situation's different, but sometimes people don't get that benefit of the doubt. But I just want to insert that here, just because she had been so out of the loop for so long. And she's on the roster, and Vlatko rates her very high. He really likes her. And I can see why. She's great. Vlatko talks about Casey right here.
Casey Kruger. Thankfully, she's good after Red Star's wave scare. Having her and Tierna Davidson increase the competition in camp now as we're getting closer to the World Cup. They're just making the coach's job a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, so Tierna back, Casey being called, and it's just, that's the idea of making each other fight for their spots even harder, makes the competition, it makes it better for the team. So a lot of questions. And also he calls Casey Kruger one of the best defenders in the league and says Casey coming back is game on. So yeah, he really rates Casey. So going back to Julie did make a statement about being back.
It's very exciting to be back with the team again, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity. I have to work out details in regards to my club situation, but I'm very thankful to Zach, my family, and U.S. Soccer for the amazing support they have provided me to get back to this point.
And she kind of talks about she's been training and that she's ready. She feels ready. So she sounds like, and I don't even know if people knew that she was back training because she's pretty much been laying low. She's not much on social media and such. So it's just, it's just wild to see. Vlatko also says this.
So Julie coming in doesn't mean that everyone moves on the side and Julie gets into that spot. I said earlier she needs to come in, she needs to prove herself. We are going to be a little bit patient as we can afford to be at this moment. To give her a chance to get back, we'll give her a chance to acclimate herself in the new market once she signs a professional contract.
Yeah, so it just seems like she wanted to come back. Could she go in there and it just not work out? Possibly. I don't see that happening, but could she have that happen? But I think most people are pretty pumped. We will see. And I mean, that's mostly what this video is about, Julie and some of the other players who are back. But we will see these games against Ireland in April, and we'll see, what happens. I honestly think at this point, there is no telling what's going to happen by the time they pick the roster, which I believe will be in early summer, maybe June they will pick the roster. I'm actually not sure, but June. We're
all going to be quaked either way.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see, especially like if, Cat Macario is ready. If Pinoe, I did read somewhere, said if Pinoe is able to play, I read somewhere that she's on the team, which kind of surprised me given all the talent, but I don't discredit that. And I don't discredit it based on she doesn't worthy of a spot, but I just read that. And is that true? Possibly. So who knows what the team is even going to look like. And we'll see where Julie ends up. Is she going to end up? I don't know where she's going to end up. Apparently it's just not going to be Kansas City. But other than that, we will see. Excited. And I think this is such a positive.
But I think we're all excited to see Julie back with the team.
See what she can do.
Yeah, just back playing, back on the field.
I mean, she's an icon. But people just, they know what kind of a generational talent she is.
I mean, the last time we saw her in person,
she scored.
She scored a goal.
She was the game winner at the Sheblieves in 2020.
That was literally iconic.
It was the loudest cheer I've ever heard in my life, and it was iconic.
It was one of the greatest moments in sport.
It really was. Well, what does everyone think? Questions, comments down below. Were you shocked? Were you stunned? Were you pumped? We were. And who else did you see on the roster? And, someone like a Christen and Tobin, are they still in the mix? I think Christen more than Tobin, but, questions, comments down below. We'll talk to everyone later. Have a great night.
Bye.